See that you're born an Italian if you want your life to be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great.
How about some Donadell?
That's a nice.
Paisani, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola, flying solo today here in Red Sauce Studios. My co-hosts are out and about around Italian America because it's the end of September. October's here. It's going to be Italian American Heritage Month pretty soon, and there is already a cacophony of events and invitations coming in, so everybody is out and about championing our cause in different places. But I am here at the corner of Mulberry and Grand, at the heart of Little Italy, the crossroads of Italian America, in Red Sauce Studio, at the checkered table with a very dear friend, somebody who everybody out there in the audience should be familiar with. She has been on our show a couple of times now in the Dolores and Anthony days, in the post Power Hour days, and you've been on a bunch of stuff we've done. And our Christmas video, Vanessa Racci, the jazzy Italian, is here just for a catch-up, really, because you've got a great new project coming up. So welcome to the new setup for the podcast.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here for the first time. This place is amazing.
Pretty good, right?
And I want to give you a gift before we start.
I love a good gift. Thank you very much. This is a fantastic album, by the way. I have it at home, and I listen to it regularly. It's on my iTunes playlist,
Thank
too.
you. Yeah, because no one has CD players anymore, so
No,
Spotify.
but I love vinyl. I'm so. How many vinyl did you produce?
I think like 1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
Small batch. Yeah,
it sounds different though.
It's warmer.
Yeah,
and you get the crackles.
Yeah,
it sounds vintage. I love it.
That's awesome, especially stuff you're doing, right? Because this has got. We talked about this on the show.
Yeah,
when
I launched
remote, when you launched it.
Yeah.
You're doing some really interesting songs on here, and like Moon River and things that nobody kind of ties to Italian and Italian American, but some great numbers. So this is great on vinyl, I'm sure. But we're gonna put it up in Pride of Place here in the studio, and absolutely, this will keep Pride of Place. Thank you. We're gonna have it up here amongst the great vinyl of Italian America for a long time to come.
Yay.
So great gift. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But this is a prior episode, right? This great accomplishment. Tell us a little bit about why you came in today, because you're working on something that I think is really exciting. And we had intended for you to come in with another young man who you've been working with, and I think people are going to be very excited about this combo, because I've seen his stuff online. He's a very talented guy, so tell us about what you're doing.
Thanks, So we are producing and starring in a mini musical called Forbidden Love. I guess I'll show it.
Yes, absolutely, yep.
And it's the tragic, untold love story of Bobby Darin and Connie Francis, who are two Italian-American music icons. And we are, for the first time, launching it in a 500-seat theater in Westchester, New York, Yorktown Stage, which is a professional theater.
Right by me.
And so you're welcome to
right
come.
by you, too. Yeah,
yes.
right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really exciting. We've got like 300 tickets sold thus far.
That's awesome.
So, the place is going to be packed. And we had... I should tell the story about how this happened, because
give me a little bit.
It's rooted in Little Italy.
Really?
so I met Dr. Schelsa a long time ago in Little Italy when I was recording my first album, and I was trying to get on a balcony to take my album cover picture, and he helped me do that.
By the way, Dr. Schelsa, for those, he's the Dr. Joseph Schelsa, the founder and head of the Italian American Museum, who are our neighbors, or will be in a few months or weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so he had hired me to sing for various events, and also my co-star Charlie Romo from Staten Island. And he connected us because he said, I know you do Italian-American music and some Connie Francis, and Charlie does a Bobby Darin show, so you should get together. And we did, and when we started talking, we started realizing that this is much more than a show. Like, this is a musical. This is for the big screen, because it's a really interesting story. And I guess I'll tell you a little bit about it. But so Bobby Darin and Connie Francis came up to fame together on Tin Pan Alley in the 1950s. And they used to take the bus to the Brill Building together. And they initially hated each other. It's a funny story because he was a songwriter and he was writing songs for Connie Francis. That's how he started.
Really?
And, at the time in the 50s, men didn't want to listen to women. So she had a lot of feedback on the songs. And he was like, listen, lady, you don't know what you're talking about. So they like...
Whether we want to or whether we do, different story, but keep going. Neither here nor there. I'm going to get canceled for that.
Exactly.
But anyway, yes.
But he did eventually realize that she had a lot of talent.
Sure, yeah.
And then they started falling in love. And her father just thought he was going to interfere with her ascent in her career. And he like threatened their manager to like pick one of them. And they wound up rising to fame at the same time in 1958. Her with Who's Sorry Now, him with
song.
Right, and him with Splish Splash. And they were forbidden to be together, and they would keep in touch through love letters. And then he eventually had to move on because he was so afraid of her father.
Yeah.
And he wound up marrying Sandra Dee. And then she wrote in her autobiography that after 4 failed marriages, he was the one that got away. And he wound up dying young because he had a weak heart. So he wanted to, become famous and make something of himself before he died. And he died at the age of 37. And they never got a chance to be together.
And we didn't establish, because I think we take for granted, and maybe our audience does too, because it's the Italian American podcast. But he was Italian American,
yes,
right?
Born William Robert Casotto. Walden Robert Casotto.
Walden Robert Casotto.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of like Connie Francis's off the boat father chasing away some here's another Italian guy, right? And and for him, there's the sort of alternative, which you said he married Sandra Dee. Can't get less Italian than that lady, right? So it's very interesting. There's a lot of complexities, even ethnic, around that story. I always think of that when I think of the two of them, especially because neither of them rose to fame with an Italian last name. You know what I mean?
Right. They both changed their last names. She was born Concetta Rosa Maria Franconero.
Wow.
So say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I am proud of accomplishing what we can with our names, it's the audience, right? And it's the time, and you gotta be able to get it out of your mouth. I could see the pressure where people bent to the pressure. I'm never one to kind of rake and to Connie Francis's credit, she did so much in Italian. She wasn't hiding what she was.
Right. Exactly. And she actually started out playing accordion.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
But she was embarrassed. She thought it was corny, but it actually helped her, succeed in the Italian American community.
Is that right?
Her father made her play the accordion. She didn't want to. And he also made her record Who's Sorry Now, and she didn't want to.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about Daddy was right. That's,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Connie Francis, who's 85 now?
86. Close, yeah.
What a superhero.
Yeah.
I know personally to you, but also for so much of our community.
Yeah.
She's got an amazing songbook. She was the best-selling female artist ever for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Till Beyonce or something like that.
It was estimated she sold 100 million records in the 50s and 60s, and she was one of the first females of rock and roll.
And still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know you and I say this every time you come around, but it boggles my mind that this lady's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I wish we could do more to kick up a protest, but nobody. But it's tragedy. She should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And and of all these amazing songs and accomplishments and records then in a multitude of languages. But Who's Sorry Now? It really pulls at your heartstrings. What a song, right? Because that was a country song before.
Oh, it was written in 1923, but I think it was an American songbook song.
Okay,
I think, if I'm
more
not
sort
mistaken.
of like that, vaudeville piano beat.
I think so, but I could be wrong. But
I think
it was
you're
an
right.
old song, and then he had her remake it in a doo-wop feel.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I could see where it also sort of applicable as a song to a lot of the tragedy that comes out later in her life, right? She had a pretty tragic life.
Yeah, she did. She didn't have a success in her marriages. She didn't have children. She wound up getting raped at a performance and sued the hotel because there was no security.
Oh my God.
And then that spiraled her into depression, and she couldn't perform. And so she did have a really rough life, but she was a genius.
Yeah.
She was I read her autobiography, and it's pretty incredible what she accomplished at such a young age. All the languages she learned, the instruments, how well she handled the music business, and how savvy she was as a young woman at the time. And then how she also like saved her life during her rape, like how she used her intelligence to calm the perpetrator. It was like, it's an incredible book. Among my souvenirs is her autobiography.
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't read it, but I've seen it. I think you and I have talked about this, maybe even on the air. I spoke to her once when I was at NEF. She was going to come out and do one of our events, and unfortunately she couldn't.
Yeah.
I think you've had a conversation with her as well.
Yeah. I was supposed to do her 86th birthday tribute concert, and unfortunately it dissolved for reasons out of our control, but it was going to be amazing, and I wanted to meet her, more importantly. So.
Yeah, I always say if I could meet anyone, I think, in the Italian American community at this point, like if I could have that one interview, I think I'd like to interview her.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a bunch of people said, Frankie Valli or Dion. I'm like, for me, it's Scorsese, but for me, I think it's her because I think, especially to be a woman in that period, it's amazing what she did, and a lot of it's just her guile and strength.
Yeah. So, but short story long is that once we looked into this story, we're like, wow, because we were just going to do a song, like a show, Charlie and I, like I would sing Connie songs, he would sing Bobby songs. And then once we started comparing notes, because he's an expert on Bobby, I'm kind of an expert on Connie, we're like, oh my God, there's so much more. This is a really compelling story and we can make it a mini musical. And so we actually took excerpts and quotes from their autobiographies and wrote a libretto. And so we have an overture, we have an 8-piece orchestra with, some of the most talented musicians from Broadway, and it's done Broadway style. It's only 75 minutes for now, and then we hope to, in the future, expand it, to off-Broadway, Broadway. Like, obviously the dream is for it to be like the next Jersey Boys.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Because their music is certainly as popular, both of theirs. But right now we're just trying to take it to a bigger theater to prove that it has teeth.
Yeah. And if it's 75 minutes now, is that in 2 acts?
It's 1 act. There's no intermission, yeah.
What's a normal Broadway play?
It's usually 2-ish hours with an intermission, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes with a intermission. Okay. So we don't have too much to expand to, but we also need to hire a director and producer and a writer to write it the appropriate way.
Sure,
have
of course,
a set and stuff like that.
But a ton of work that comes out of that. But I'm just thinking in terms of like the experience that somebody has. You say like get a set, so this is amongst just like a black backdrop. I mean,
this is in a theater with like the 8-piece orchestra will be behind us, and then Bobby or Charlie. Sometimes I call him Bobby
great.
now.
That's method acting. That's wonderful.
I call him Bobby, but his real name is Charlie. But we'll come on and off the stage for like different scenes. We have dialogue together, but right now there's no like set. But it doesn't really need much of a set. But maybe if it did go to the level of off-Broadway, we'd have to have something in the background.
Sure. That's the beauty of like, you get to, there's like the expansive dream, right? But it sounds like this is something, I hate to harp on the difficulty of her life. And I'm a big fan of hers. I've always been a big fan of hers. My family's a big fan of hers.
Yeah.
I like all of her stuff. But the idea of this forbidden love, it's not a radical departure from a lot of storytelling, right? Like, Daddy said no, so you don't have you have the unrequited love. But for some reason, I guess because of what she went through, he died young, and I feel maybe for me because of their shared heritage, it's like extra tragic.
Yeah,
and so you kind of like you let the music and the characters do the talking.
It's like she found her person too soon.
Yeah, it's sad.
I know.
Yeah, and like you never, you think of like these other non-famous glass ceiling breaking, pioneering Italian Americans of the same age who, Dad might have said, "Great young Italian boy, and he's nice and respectful and talented, and like what a perfect pairing."
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the American dream starts to eke into the personal, right? Like what can we achieve? Where's the career going to take us? It's a very frequent part of exploring Italian American experience to me.
Yeah,
is that dichotomy between our sort of natural pull towards stay with your family, be cozy, just simple kind of life, and the American dream of like, can you become the best-selling female artist of a generation?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what she I think in some ways she kind of was sacrificed on that altar of that dichotomy.
Yeah. And, as a professional singer myself. I'd like to think you can have both. We shall see. Time will tell. But
She actually sang that. Didn't she sing Time Alone with Tell?
yes,
Yeah,
that's
there
one of
you
the
go.
songs that
Love that song.
in the show. Yes.
What is that? That's Non Pensare a Me.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
great song.
very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know like Connie Francis.
yeah,
But you're right, though. It's like, I'm sure you face the same things today, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Those are all Italian Americans. That,
Yeah.
like, you think about success, and then you go, well, wait, success took me here, and my career. We were talking off mic. I went down to D.C. for all those years, and then you look back, and you're like, yeah, it was great, but like, could have been with my now wife and my family, and like that to me is very Italian American. That sort of dichotomy. Does that kind of come up in here, the ethnicity and stuff like that?
it doesn't that much. It's more about like the love between them and their rise to fame. So we like tell the story of how they met, how they fell in love, and then how they rose to fame, and the songs that kind of were the backdrop of that story. But yeah, we don't talk enough about the families. Maybe when we expand
When
it,
you expand
we
in
should.
Broadway
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
movies, there you go. See, now we know.
Yeah, because my family always complains that Mama is not in the show. Because it's Italian Americans love Mama, and I do too. I
It's
sing
an
it all the
anthem,
time.
absolutely, yeah.
But it has nothing to do with their relationship.
Yeah.
But if we somehow expand it and talk about
Family
the
life.
families, then that's where we can put Mama in there.
Yeah, you're right. And was her mother active in her life? Do you know? Because the dad's such a predominant figure.
Yeah, I mean, she was present, but she didn't control her career like her dad did.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mama is. I grew up where my mom's mom, my grandmother, who's upstate, who I adore, she lost her mother young, and we were always very careful if it played in the house because it always choked up my grandmother, and then because of that, choked up my mother, and then it choked up the rest of us, and like
then everybody's depressed.
Yeah, it's such a moving song,
Yeah.
and it is an Italian American anthem because
Yeah.
that relationship between the child and their mom, I think we are particularly devoted to that as
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Motherhood and the mom is a big character in our psychology,
absolutely.
So I love that
They're
song.
the center of the family.
They are the center of the family. We say that the dad's the head, but mom's the neck.
Yes.
Who turns the head,
Yeah.
right? That's really true. I surrendered to my wife very, very long ago, and she does a much better job of running things than I ever would. So I'm like, that's fine. You be the neck, baby. I'm just, tell me when I got to put my pants on and go out of the house. Otherwise, I'll be here doing my thing.
Thank God she does.
Yeah, that's thank God she does. It's true. I'll pick up my medicine today. If I didn't have my wife, I'd be like just a ball of uselessness. She does everything. She's the best. Tell me a little bit to that kind of note, right? If this show is not the kind of focus on family and the that kind of undertone, what to you are the sort of deep dive heartstring moments of this? Where is there pain in the story, or
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I don't want to give away too much, but like
yeah,
it's when
tiptoe around it. Figure out a way.
When she sings, when I sing "Non pensare a me," it's at the point when I realize like what I've lost.
Deep.
Yeah.
Non pensare a me, for those who don't understand the Italian language, as Lou Monti would say. I once said that on a video, and somebody criticized me in the comments saying, "You don't know how to say Italian." Of course, I know how to say Italian. It's in the name of the.
You don't know how to talk Italian.
Yeah, I'm like, are you really out there? How dumb could you? No. For those who don't understand the Italian language, is a direct quote from Lou Monti, if you're curious. Non pensare a me means don't think of me, right? That's the whole body of that song. And it's again, we do tragedy really well. That like yearning.
Yes.
What's your favorite song in the whole production?
Oh, it's Al di là. I know that's so old
love that
school,
song.
but
No.
like it was one of my grandfather's favorites. And I love it even more now because when I read her autobiography, I learned that she chose to record it for Bobby because she learned that he had this heart condition and that he was trying to be more famous than Sinatra before he died. And she was so enamored by his talent and motivation that she thought he was beyond. And that's what Al di là means, beyond. And she chose to record it for him.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
You and I have talked a lot, both off mic as friends and on mic, about your grandfather's influence on your life.
Yeah.
I share the same my grandparents. And Al di là, for me, was always a song that I liked. But my grandfather loved to sing. Right, and every family, but he had heart disease, 13 heart attacks before he died, and so the latter part of my life, he really couldn't muster strength to do it. Right? He was just an amateur singer, loved singing Neapolitan and stuff. And he and my grandmother were an arranged marriage. I never saw them really like romantic. Once I saw them kiss once on Christmas. He gave her jewelry. It was like a big deal. But they were a great pair. And when he passed away, after a lot of years of suffering, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and Aldi La, I had music in the background, came on, and she kind of like froze up, and she told me, "Oh, this is the last song Grandpa sang for me. They must have been out at a dinner or something,
Oh, God.
with a musician." And that took on such a deeper meaning to me afterwards,
Yeah.
you know? And now when I hear it, I just think of them, and I just think of the beyond, you know what I mean? And like, what a beautiful, it's just a beautiful song. It's simple.
Yeah.
And I think it's overlooked because it's simple, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
And the way Connie does it is so unmatched because she had that very natural Neapolitan cry in her voice, and it made it
interesting.
so much more heart-wrenching, you know?
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
I always sort of try to put my finger on that, like, yearning. It's not whining. It's a Neapolitan cry. It's that like
Yeah.
real pleading that is in so many of those songs.
It's really, if you want to get technical from a
Yeah,
voice
please
teacher
do.
perspective,
Yes, please do.
It's called nasal resonance now.
Is that right? Is nasal resonance? I have a deviated septum, so I've tried to study how to not sound nasally when I speak on the microphone and stuff like that. Nikki told me the other day I breathe heavy on the microphone because I can't breathe through my nose.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
breathing through my mouth all the time. But
Like
he's like,
Tony Soprano. You're
I'm like, I was in the office the other day because we had this San Gennaro feast, the T-shirts, and I designed all the T-shirts. So I was here drawing on my iPad doing the design we needed, and somebody was sitting. I was sitting right here, and they leaned over me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "You're breathing so." I was like a caveman, but I can't breathe out of my nose, so that's all I got. So nasal resonance.
Nasal resonance.
What does that mean?
It's like the placement of the sound and where you feel the sound vibrations. So you know how they say like there's three parts of the voice. There's like chest voice, middle voice, head voice. That's all where you feel the resonators and you feel the sound vibrations. And this is a little bit too technical, but it's all based on like formants, which is like the rate at which the sound vibrates to create different resonance sounds.
Wow.
And then the nasal resonance is placed here, and it's a very forward sound, right? Like nah, that's that cry, right?
Yeah.
And it's very different from like a dark sound that's more down here, or head voice or whatever. I'm a voice teacher, so I'm very, very passionate about this stuff.
It's good.
But I'm nerding out for a second. But she had a real strong like nasal resonance, and she had that like cry that. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a glottal. Like,
That's so interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like, what really pulled on everybody's heartstrings.
Pat would be over the moon right now with this conversation. He loves this kind of stuff.
He likes technical stuff.
He would be like totally fascinated by this. But I think of that a lot because there is something like, I don't know, you ever listen to like the Alan Lomax records of all these old, like Alan Lomax, I think it's Alan Lomax. We'll fact check it and put the real name on the screen if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But he was, I think it was like the 50s or 60s. He went around the world and recorded people singing folk songs before they disappeared. And he did one or two or maybe even more in Italy records. And don't ask me how, as a kid, I think my grandfather gave me one. And it's, you know, three old ladies in the 50s in a field in Veneto singing some farming song. And I fell in love with the Italian folk music. And a lot of it is very like pleading, and that it almost sounds like bagpipes, you know?
Yeah.
And there's just something so haunting about that. So
And
if you
I
can
feel
bring
like
in
it
pop
must,
music.
I don't know the history well to say that this is a fact, but it must be related to like the old Neapolitan like folk music where they just cried and would chant, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Like as you listen to it, it's very nasally resonant. It's like like
exactly.
that, you know?
Yeah, I love that.
Right,
Good job. We make something out of that. Pat and I were in Naples. As the Feast of San Gennaro just passed us, and we were all recovering from. You performed on what day?
Friday the 20th.
Friday the 20th. Were you happy with the? I know the sound was a little bit wonky, but were you happy with the crowds?
Yeah, the crowds are
good,
great.
right?
They like to dance a lot, which is great. I love
That's
when people
awesome.
dance when I perform. So.
That makes me happy. I'm good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But you know, Feast just passed, but San Gennaro's blood traditionally liquefies September 19th, but then also two other dates over the year. So I only learned. I thought it was September 19th and another one. I didn't realize there was three.
Right.
We happened to be in Naples, and we got invited to go to the cathedral for the.
Oh
right?
my God.
Didn't liquefy.
Oh
So,
no!
Yeah,
Isn't that bad luck?
Yeah, it's been horrible bad luck. It was right before COVID.
Oh, no.
Then the news on the Italian news that night, they were like, "Yes, it didn't liquefy, but we can assure you it liquefied afterwards." I'm like, something bad is happening now. But there was two old ladies and they were in the front of the church, and it wasn't packed because it was like the third feast day, so it was like September 19th. You can't get anywhere near the cathedral. This time we were able to go, and there was two old ladies, and they were dirges, really, like that funeral dirge, Sanjanana, and it was just this, and they throughout the whole mass, and I remember like discussing it with Pat afterwards and thinking, this is an ancient part of this tradition, and there's two of them. I don't think there's that many more on the big feast day in September. Like that's going to disappear, right? And you know, it's interesting to think that in somebody like Connie Francis, maybe is the legacy of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That was so eloquently put.
Oh, thank you. That's why I do this for a living now. But I think about that a lot.
Yeah. So that's what makes her, like, I think, one of my favorite singers, and I think that's what continues to make her beloved among the Italian American community because of that cry. Yeah, she like reaches a deep part of our soul that's emotional and like a part of our lineage or something.
Yeah, it is. It speaks to you. It speaks to your. It hits your ear differently, right? It's like you must have some kind of blood memory around these sounds and these things. Yeah, I think about that all the time. Yeah, I'll never forget being in Italy with my wife's family. My mother-in-law's Tuscan, and she's very like normal. And we were playing cards one night, and I had my playlist going, and my playlists go from like this kind of stuff, and then they just devolve into folk music and like rare recordings. And I had Rosa Balestrieri. You ever listen to her?
No.
Go home. I'm going to give you a litany of Sicilian songs to listen to. Okay. She is bone-chillingly amazing, but it's got that. And we're playing cards and we're eating and having wine, and my mother-in-law turns to me about 3 songs in and says, "You have something a little less whiny." I was like, you know what? Yes, I'll go back to Connie Francis.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but Rosa Balestrieri is amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you will love her. Oh, you'll take a lot of it. Are you all Neapolitan?
No, I'm Neapolitan, Calabrese, and Pugliese.
Oh, that's a good mix.
Yeah, all Southern.
Yeah, amen. Calabria and Puglia, you don't get the same sort of awareness around their songbooks. You got to kind of dig deeper.
Yes, for some reason, like a lot of the singers were Napolitan. I don't know why.
Yeah. And I think I think like a lot of it too is really honestly the guys here in the Little League, like Ernie Rossi's still there. Yeah. The music companies that were making the sheet music were Neapolitan. That could be part of it too.
That makes sense.
You know, the Neapolitan music industry was always big there. Yeah. I think it transported here. You know, Pieta Grotta Music Festival was in Naples. Mm-hmm. None of the other regions had that sort of the business to it, right? Because a lot of it's commerciality.
And I love that you're talking about the history of Italian Americans in music, because that's kind of my broader mission with this project, with Jazzy Italian, the history of Italian Americans in jazz. I am launching, hopefully the paperwork will be submitted by the time this airs, a nonprofit called the Italian Americans in Music Society.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's like my first venture into this.
Good.
To like preserve the history of Italian American contributions to music in America, and to help, promote and foster the careers of future Italian Americans who want to get an education in music. So.
Have you met Taylor Taglianetti?
Yes.
Okay.
Was I actually reached out to her.
Taylor's a good combination of her names. Taylor, if you're out there, because she's great and she came on. Yeah.
Yes.
She's a great model,
actually
great role
reached
model.
out to her to ask her about how she modeled her organization. She said it's not a nonprofit, but still, there's a lot to learn from her about how she built like a network
of Italian American entertainers.
Yes, in film.
In film. Yeah. It's amazing. I find it very inspiring that people are still thinking in these terms in 2024, right? Like you've had a career in marketing and PepsiCo and all these things, but like there's still that draw for you of, okay, not only am I passionate about this stuff, preserving it from a historical and cultural perspective and performance, but then also thinking in terms of the collective and the tribe and like, let's get these people together. To which the point is, right, you're working with this young man, Charlie Romo. Tell me a little bit about Charlie, Charlie, you're in deep caca that you didn't make it out here. We moved things around. I'm here. You didn't come in. So
hopefully he'll come on another
Charlie,
day.
Yeah, you're gonna have to might have to do some free work on the Christmas album. Okay, tell me about Charlie. I want to know about it. I've heard him. His voice is beautiful. He's a very talented young man.
He's amazing.
How old is he?
Oh God, he just got married. I think he's 28.
Oh gosh,
I think young man. Yeah. And such an old soul. Yeah. And he has a smooth crooner voice, like you can't
Very
believe.
talented, yeah.
He's from Staten Island, and he does a whole show on Bobby Darin's life. And he actually was in touch with the estate, I believe, to like get their approval on things, I believe. He can speak to this better than I can. But he's an expert on Bobby Darin, sings his songs so flawlessly that every time during the show when I'm singing and he's singing his song on stage, it brings me to tears. It's so good, especially the song he sings, "Love Letters," because when they couldn't be together, Connie and Bobby wrote love letters together. Oh,
Is that and he really wrote a song about that, Bobby Darin? I'm not familiar with the song. Bobby Darin, I'm a little bit less familiar with.
Yeah, it's lesser known, but it just fits the story perfectly. So we chose it for the show. And he also does like Italian American songbook, male crooner music, and extremely talented, like voice like butter.
Yeah, yeah. We got a lot of those out there. You don't want to fault the stereotypes, but like, there's a reason that the 1950s and 60s were defined by Italian American singers, right? Like we this is some things that we just sort of, and again, you talk about like the Neapolitan, but why Naples and why is it so predominant in music all over the world, right? People know Neapolitan song, and the same thing here. All over the world, people know the Italian American talents that came out of those decades, and in some ways really defined the American songbook.
Yeah, it must be I was thinking about this, especially since I'm doing my nonprofit. It made me ponder why things are.
Yeah,
and it may be because of the bel canto style of singing.
Interesting.
Like that was a style that was taught and very revered in Italy, like next to opera, right? If you weren't an opera singer, you're a bel canto. And that I think that style sounded really good with this type of music.
Teach us for those of us who are uninitiated, what does bel canto sound like? What do we, what?
Oh God, did you know Pasquale Esposito?
I mean,
he's like one of the.
I could be a guy I had lunch with. That name is so. Give me context.
I'm trying to think of like somebody else. Who's
Whenever anybody asks me if I know an Italian name, I'm like, I only know Italian names, so you got to give me context.
Isn't Aaron Caruso a bel canto singer? I'm pretty sure he is.
You're the singer. I don't know what. I don't even know what it means.
So it's like it's rooted in like classical, and it's. I wasn't studied in bel canto, so I can't describe it very well, but it's more like a low larynx kind of open throat type of sound, like I can't describe it.
Which crooning could fit, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you can always tell when somebody was studied in it, and because it's that, the type of sound.
Yeah.
And but I feel like that style and learning it from Italy and the immigrants coming over from Italy must have been a big reason why Italian Americans were so popular at the time in that style of music.
I always think of people, we talk a lot about the affinity for opera, and obviously opera is such an Italian art, and there's great operas from around the world. Nick, you're gonna have to edit that. There's great operas from around the world, but it's got this tie into our people, right? And this idea that everybody has a story of the grandfather or the father or the great-grandfather who sat around listening to opera and singing. And I think that's why we do the Great Italian American Karaoke Night now twice during the Feast of San Gennaro, because I think underneath every Italian American, as shy and retiring as they might be, is this frustrated singer. I think all of us think we're singers, right? And you're a singer, but the rest of us, we're like, we have this sort of secret connection to it, or I don't know.
It's so funny you say that, because I can't tell you how many times when I perform around the country at festivals or at venues, how many Italian American. It's older men for some reason, but older men just come up to me and they just sing at me.
Yes,
they're like, I can sing raw. I'm like, oh, thank you.
We were all just one chromosome away from Caruso in our minds. It's really bizarre. I learned that I really can't sing when I sang on the record.
No,
we did. No,
you're not trained, but you have the ability.
Right, I can carry a tune, but Sal the voice. We did a thing for Growing Up Italian's 1 millionth follower. They had a live stream.
Right. Yeah.
And Ro and I interviewed Sal, and he said something like, "No, you're a singer." I'm like, "Sal, that's you're a Ferrari and I'm a bicycle," and you're like, "Yeah, we both get people to one place." You know what I mean? But it's very nice, Sal. But It's hard to be a singer. People don't
Yes.
understand it. It's just something
hard.
people think. Nobody goes out and goes like, "Oh, I can be an ophthalmologist," because, but like you think you can sing because you sing in the shower.
Yeah,
It's not the case. It's
like
huge.
you can be born with natural talent for sure, and I think that's what you have. You have like a nice natural tone, which will make it easier for you to sing professionally if you ever wanted to. But
I'm great, but thank you. Thanks, that means a lot from you. Thank you.
Welcome. But it takes a lot of discipline to constantly work out those muscles. It's like honestly, I think it should be a sport. It's
so
very
true.
athletic, right? It's like if you don't constantly work out your biceps in the gym, they're going to fatigue. And if you don't keep them strong, because I work out my vocal muscles every day for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
And if I don't, I won't be able to do the vocal gymnastics I'm doing on stage.
Because it's an instrument.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an instrument. And a lot of people think they can sing because, they sing one song really well. But try to do 2 hours on a stage. You know what I mean?
Forget about it.
Exactly.
I mean, I have like 3 songs I can karaoke, which I will do at every party. I'm 90% of Italian America sick of hearing them. They've all heard them before. My whole family certainly is. Yeah. But I enjoy it. I go in my fantasy world. But that's about it. I have like a 3 to 5 song range. And then when you find other songs you love and you like try to sing along and you're like, oh gosh, I'm making my own ears bleed here. You realize how much of a talent it is to be able to sing. Like Lena and I are really close.
Yes.
Lena, who I think is a beautiful torch singer, but like she sings 60s rock, and she started as an 80s rocker, like a real rocker. And I'm always really impressed by the fact that she can. That's a profession, right?
Right.
If you could sing other stuff, what would be tier 2 to this kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh, I do have a very flexible voice, but I don't show it because it's not my brand right now. But I used to sing operatic style. Like I won a Helen Hayes Award for my doing Christine in Phantom. But what I really enjoy singing next to like jazz is R&B and blues.
Really?
Like I have a very soulful voice. Like I love Alicia Keys.
Really?
Yeah.
She's half Italian.
I know.
You could put her right into the Italian songbook. She's
Maybe you
jazzy
can interview her one day.
Yeah, that's true. I should reach out. I don't even think about that stuff. I always think about like, we had this conversation yesterday, Pat and I. You reached out and said, "Oh, we're doing this show. Oh, great!" Like we have so many people that we know that come to us through different things. You never think about like, let's go reach out to some, Hollywood or this. You just don't think about it because
you should have Gaga on here.
Yeah, of course you should have. I mean, but like we don't. Yes, we should. With discipline, we'll get there. Nikki, take note. Lady Gaga, Alicia Keys, make it happen. Nikki, get on it. He's good. He knows how to use Twitter and things like that. So he probably doesn't even use Twitter. Whatever they use, Reels.
Twitter's dead. No,
yeah. So you like to sing that kind of bluesy.
Yeah.
What is your secret karaoke song? If you had to go up and like nobody can know you're a singer, what's going to blow the world away?
Oh, I love Etta James. All I Could Do Was Cry.
I don't know if I know that song.
Oh, well, maybe I'll sing a little for you.
Maybe we'll get a little bit of sample, yeah.
I'm not warmed up yet, but something told me it was over when I saw you and her talking. Something deep down in my soul said, cry, girl, when I saw you and her walking around now.
Wow, very good. Bravo. That's right. Applause. That's right. That was very, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, so I love that. She sings that about like crying because, she is with the man that she wants to be
somebody
with.
Else, right? Yeah. If you leave the Italian songbook and kind of the writers and stuff, is Etta James up there on your list? Who else is up there on your list?
Well, actually, I combined the two with At Last because At Last is on my album,
right?
And
because it's written by
Harry Warren, Salvatore Antonio Guaragna. But I'm sorry, what was your question?
But who else? Who else is in your pantheon of singing influences?
Oh, definitely Alicia, Celine Dion, Jane Monheit. She's jazz. Who else was kind of an influence of mine? I loved Alanis Morissette, but I don't really sing like her. But really like Celine, Alicia, Etta, Ella. They're my influences outside of the Italian-American community.
When you get to be going by just your first name and everybody knows who you're talking about, it's pretty clear, that you've got talent to spare. That's a fair list. I think of kind of we spend so much time swimming in the Italian-American pool that sometimes it's nice to remind yourself that there's a lot of other things out there that, musical influences and stuff.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be one night you guys are doing this.
One night only.
October 19th.
Saturday, October 19th.
During Italian American Heritage Month.
Exactly.
7 p.m.
Yep.
We're going to be in Yorktown, New York at the Yorktown Stage.
Mm-hmm.
If we're here in Red Sauce Studio right now, that's about an hour and a half. What is that from the city?
Yeah, an hour and a half from lower Manhattan. From the top of Manhattan, it's an hour.
So it's pretty accessible for everybody from Connecticut and New Jersey and all those places.
Absolutely.
So you're out there, and you said 500 seats in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
You're already sold out 300. So that's pretty good. How does that? Are you getting the word out there now? What is it? Social media? You guys doing it yourself?
Yeah, yes, we do it ourselves. A lot of word of mouth. My parents, they love this show so much. They're telling everyone in Westchester that they know.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Podcasts like this one.
Yes, of course. That's what we're here for. We are the NPR of Italian America.
That's
Pat
right.
reminds me
I love
constantly.
that. Yes.
That's Pat, not me.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's a really good little soundbite. And then obviously Instagram. Like I'm all over Instagram. That's the place to be for promotion, and my mailing list, and
good for you.
Anyone we can tell.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, to be a month out and doing well, that's really great. I'm very happy to hear that.
So thanks, Mom.
There you go. So nothing like an Italian mom to promote what you're doing. My mom always, thinks I'm doing all the yeoman's work, and so afterwards, the goal is, how do you get to that next phase with this?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to learn because, I don't have anybody in my family that's in music. Like I kind of learned everything myself. And so, just like I learned how to do an album, just like I learned how to sing, like I'm going to learn how to get this to Broadway.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Nikki and I used to be in the same acting class. And
That's
so
fantastic.
Our acting coach, Thomas G. Waits, he was going to help me with like a roadmap because he's taken shows to off Broadway and Broadway. And it sounds like a pretty easy roadmap from like a work perspective. Not that it's easy, but it's like a clear roadmap from a work perspective. But what's hard is like the raising the money, because I think even off Broadway these days, it takes $500,000 to get a show up, and so it's a lot of risk.
That's a lot of risk.
So I'm like. I'm like,
it's really hard.
It's really hard, and so I'm trying to figure out what would need to be proven to like get to that level. So maybe like if we can show that we can fill a 500-seat theater, then maybe next can we go to the 1,000-seat St. George Theater in Staten Island,
right.
And then can we take that to an investor and say, look, this is a proof of concept. People love this. We think it's the next Jersey Boys. Can you invest? So
one of the things about the Jersey Boys that always sort of seemed to me. Part of its success is obviously the songbook is all owned by Frankie Valli and Bob Guadio, and right
that makes it easier.
Makes it easier, right? And I mean, not the Jersey Boys is great because the music is great, but to get to the next level on a production, the music rights. I'm learning this, even with our show theme song, which I sing on, and I didn't know anything about the legal, ramifications of stuff. We can't use it and monetize it. How did you guys get the rights to this stuff? Do you have to secure them? What's the kind of like...
If we take it to Broadway, we would have to secure the rights from the estates.
You wouldn't have to now if it stays off Broadway.
If it stays off Broadway, no, because there's no money to be had.
Right, of course, right,
but once there...
As long as you're not making money, what are you going to do? Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair.
Once we start making a lot of money and it gets to the level of like TV, film, Broadway, then we'd have to secure the rights from the estates, yes.
So Connie Francis, you'd go to her.
We go to her and then the Bobby Darin estate. Yeah.
Has she heard about this?
She has.
Have you heard her reaction?
So I haven't.
Wow, I know. That's so interesting.
I know, and I'm trying to get to meet her in like Florida so that I can talk to her about it. Because I almost met her when I was supposed to perform for her 86th birthday. So I want to talk to that producer and be like, hey, next time I'm in Florida, can you help me? It was Charlie Colello was the producer.
Yes.
You know him? Oh,
I know of him. Yeah, I've met him. I think I dealt with him when we were trying to... I don't remember, but yeah, okay.
So I'm going to Florida to perform November 2nd at the Jupiter Italian Festival, and I'm hoping to...
Well, that sounds like fun.
Make it... Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is it a good festival?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a good one.
Make a point to get to that. That's, I'm very big on the Florida Italian American stuff right now. But I will... Maybe we'll try to flank this operation together because, like I said,
awesome.
I would love to bring Nikki in the camp down and interview her. And
yes.
I don't know if she's going to come up to New York anytime soon. I don't get the sense she wants to, and
I know.
The lady is rightfully a little bit standoffish.
Sure.
But her story. So maybe we'd do it together.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I'll interview her.
That would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Especially since, she's 86 and we don't know how many
86.
years we have with her.
Absolutely.
So,
what are we doing? It's get her in that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's what we need to do as well.
Absolutely.
So, all right. If you're out there in the audience, yorktownstage.org. You can get your tickets. We're going to link this all from our show page, and it's going to be everywhere and on link. I don't know how Nikki makes YouTube work, but I think we can do that. October 19th, 7 p.m. And then to find you, your website is...
Yes, thank you. It's www.vanessaracci.com. That's VANESSA. RACCI. I almost forgot how to spell my name.
Happens.
And or at Vanessa Racci on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, wherever else.
Gotta have them all these days. If you're gonna be a singer and actor, you gotta have them all. So
exactly.
Well, you're a great friend of the show, and I'm happy to have you back. I'm glad you could finally sit in on the booth with us and enjoy.
Yeah.
And love to have you back anytime. I'm gonna check my dates and see if we can't make ourselves so easy and convenient up to Yorktown.
Absolutely,
too, so.
And of course you would be comped.
No, I don't need comps. That's like all week we had our booth next to Danny on the corner Zeppeli's, and every time we try to buy Zeppeli's, he'd say, "No, it's good. No, we want to support what you're doing. It's not like you have to comp me. Let's get to the point where you're threatening the estates and making some money." That like Pat would say, "Buy the book, get the tickets, go to the show."
Oh, I love that.
And honestly, if we're around, I'd love to come up and see it because
that'd be great.
I think it's gonna be great.
Aw.
I'm sure it's gonna be great.
You'll be in tears, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. Well, once I had my daughter, I didn't cry for 15 years. As soon as my daughter came out, I cried everything now.
Oh, that's
I'm like the
beautiful.
wimpiest. Yeah, so
That's great.
that's what happens when you become a girl dad. But
Thank you for having me.
I come back anytime. Really, this is great. This is Forbidden Love, the tragic, untold love story of Bobby Darin and Connie Francis. But as importantly, my friend Vanessa Racci and Charlie Romo. It's going to be an amazing show. I'm quite confident. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I know you'll enjoy the show. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
See that you're born in Italian. If you want your life to be great. See that you're born in Italiano and your life will be great. See that you're born in Italiano and